Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. I'm so glad to have you here. Today, our topic is how to study the Mass readings with Verbum. My name is Carly, and I'm a customer success manager here, and I'm so grateful to be here with you today. As we get started today, I would love to get to know a little bit about you, and I'm also going to let you know a little bit about myself and go over a few housekeeping items with you. So, while I do that, would you drop in the chat for me? Let me know today what your name is. Just your first name would be great, where you're viewing from today. And I'd also love to know, what is your primary use for the software? So are you using it for your own personal study? Are you using it to create homilies as a deacon or a priest? Maybe you're currently in seminary. It always is interesting for me to know, and also gives me a little bit of context for who our audience is today as we get started and dive into this topic. So let me know in the chat. And I will also, again, go ahead and start going over some of those housekeeping things while you do that. So as I mentioned, my name is Carly. I live in the Pacific Northwest area with my husband. And prior to coming to work here and offer these types of webinars here at Verbum, I was in ministry for about 7 years in the Seattle Archdiocese. So I worked with children and teens and young adults and families within that time in faith formation. And it was a really blessed and beautiful season that I'm so grateful for. I worked in one parish the whole time and really loved to get to know those families. And I learned so much in ministry. So I'm grateful to be here with you today. So whatever your goals are, whether, again, you're here for your own personal study, you're using the software for that. If you're a priest or a deacon, or you're in seminary, I hope to be able to serve you well today as we go over just a few tips on how to use the software for those goals. So a couple things that you should know as we get started today. First of all, our training is going to be about 30 minutes long. That's about how long it takes me to go over what I prepared today. But I always stick around for questions. So if you have questions specific to your own use, please drop those in the chat box for me. I'd love to be able to answer those. And if I can't answer them today, direct you to another training or follow up with you by email. We can be sure to make sure that you are able to use the software for your goals. That's my goal today. So for any questions, feel free to drop those into the Q&A. You'll notice there's two sections. There's the chat, which you're using now to drop just info about where you are and your use of the software. That's great. Feel free to use that chat throughout today. I would love, oftentimes, there's different uses that you're using the software for that others can benefit from. So never be afraid to share that. But if you have questions you want me to see before I leave today, please put those in the Q&A so they don't get lost in the shuffle of the busyness of our chat. Also, want to let you know there is a survey to take today. So you'll see that there at the top of the chat box. If you have to leave before I conclude today, would you please just go ahead and click that link and take that survey for me? If you don't stick around for Q&A, just let me know how today's webinar served you. I'm hoping to continue to offer this type of webinar for customers like you who are trying to use the software. Your feedback is so essential to know that they're valuable, first of all, for you, but also so I can continue to improve and truly offer topics that are helpful to you. You can offer different recommendations for topics that you'd like to see within that survey. Last but not least, I want to let you know that today's webinar is being recorded, and I'll shoot you an email just a few hours after we conclude today. Once that recording is ready for you, you're going to be able to come back and rewatch that recording. So just know that this first time through, you don't need to feel stressed about following along with your software and picking up all the different instruction today. You'll have that recording in hand after we conclude today. You can come back and rewatch and pause and play and practice with that recording in hand. So with that, I'm going to take a look and see who we have here with us today. And then I'll pull my software up and we will dive into our topic of the day. So I'm going to glance at this first here to see who we have here with us. Thanks for being here, everyone. I want to welcome you all. I'm so glad that we have so many people. You know, I offered a handful of these webinars in the fall. Sometimes we had very small groups of people. I think these are getting to be a little bit more visible. The visibility of them is a little bit better. So I'm so glad to have so many people. We've got 85 people on live today. That's so good to see. Thanks for being here. I'm just going to scroll through here just to see what those goals are for you. We have people here for your own personal study, lectors, deacons, priests. This is so great. Thank you for being here. Awesome. I hope I'm glancing through here. I see lots. We've got people from all over the US as I'm seeing it, likely further than that. Got someone all the way in Rome. Excellent. Hope you're all staying warm. I know across the US right now, we've got lots of people who are within dealing with storms. So I hope you're all staying warm as well. All right, great. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for putting those notes there. I just glanced through those. I'm so glad to have you all here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, or excuse me, share my software. Now I'm going to pull that up. And also for this next portion of the webinar, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off because you'll notice that as I do, your screen is going to go ahead and it's going to get a little bit larger, which will allow you to see my software a little bit better. When we get to the Q&A section, I'll turn that camera back on. Be assured I'm not leaving. I'm here as we continue to walk through this training together today. So today we are going to walk through three things. And in fact, I'm going to pull this back up because I intended to show you this first. I want to just give you an idea of what you can expect today before I pull that software back up. So first of all, today's topic, as you know, is studying the mass readings with Verbum. How do you do this? So first of all, here's what we will be walking through today. I'm going to walk you through how to set up the Catholic Daily Readings lectionary layout so it's easily accessible on your dashboard. Beyond that, we'll be looking specifically at that layout. And this layout, there's a lot of tools. And some you may know already. Maybe you've been using Verbum for a while, so you're familiar with some. And maybe there's others that you're not. So we'll be walking through how those different tools will serve you. And then you can decide based on your own personal preferences what is better. So you'll have an understanding of which tools will serve you best when you're studying the mass readings. And then number three, I'm going to show you how to make some simple changes to your layout based on your own preferences and show you how to save these preferences for the future so that when you go to access that in the future, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time changing those preferences up. So this is what we'll be walking through today. So it's fairly basic training, but for those of you who are really whatever goals you have, I hope that you walk away with something new that helps you to feel equipped to study those mass readings and know what those different tools offer for you. So let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to pull up my software again here. Okay, so let's talk about adding the Catholic Daily Readings to our dashboard. So here's our dashboard. This is the main page that we open up to when we open Verbum. Here's our dashboard. At the very top, this is where we can add different cards to customize our dashboard. And one of those cards is the Catholic Daily Readings. So to add it to your dashboard, and again, this specific layout is truly going to help you to be able to study those mass readings. You can navigate to it very quickly. And I highly recommend adding it to your dashboard so that it is so easily accessible. So you can do so just by clicking the plus sign here at the top, and you're going to go to lectionary. You will have likely different options than I do, but if you have Verbum, then you will have this option here. This is the Catholic Daily Readings option. This is what I'm going to be adding to my dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and check that box and then hit add here. Now this is what I have here added. You'll notice that it will always navigate me if I click to open it to today's readings of the day. So today's mass readings. So if I want to study on a daily basis, I can go ahead and click there. But for today's purposes, I'm going to actually show you how you can navigate to a future date if you'd like to. So let's just say, for example, you want to study the Sunday mass readings because maybe you're a priest or a deacon, you are starting to prepare your homily. Go ahead and you can select any date just by going to the calendar here before you even open it. So you go ahead and click this, and you can select, for example, this coming Sunday, the 21st, and it will open up to that date. Now, just so you know, if you ever open it up and you forget to do that, you can close it and reopen it, but you can also change up the date right here at the top section of this as well. So you can change the date here if you wish to. Okay, so let's talk about this specific layout. So what layouts are, if you haven't used the layouts in Verbum in the past, they are a very valuable tool in the software. They're going to pull up different tools based on the task that you are intending to complete. So today's task, of course, is studying the mass readings. So what Verbum has done is it's pulled all sorts of tools that are going to help you to prepare for that liturgy. Now, this is going to be whether you're just wanting to go over the Mass readings for your own personal study to prepare yourself to attend Mass, whether you are looking to prepare a homily, etc. So wherever your goals are, there are tools here that can be helpful to you. Now, I'm going to walk through what each tool is, how you can edit them and change them. If there's tools that you don't find yourself using, how you can remove them. Maybe you want to add different tools. We'll talk about how to add those, how to change up the layout, and then save it so that you can access it in the same way in the future. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So let's start by going over a bit of a tour of what this specific layout offers for you. So let's start here on the left-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and just to give us a little bit more room, just know that you can always close this left-hand sidebar, just minimize it, make it a little smaller. There's this little arrow right down here at the bottom left. You can go ahead and click that, and it will just minimize that sidebar and give you a little bit more room. If your screen is small or you just want a little bit more room, I find that really helpful to do. You can always expand it again later if you'd like to. But here on the far left, we have our Catholic daily reading. So this is going to offer us the different readings for whichever day we've chosen. Of course, today we're looking at the third Sunday in Ordinary Time, which is this coming Sunday's readings. As I scroll through this, you'll notice we have our first reading listed. I'm going to scroll through, but just notice here at the top, you can also quickly link to any one of them. So maybe you're just trying to look at the gospel. You can just go ahead and click that link and it'll navigate you right down. It'll navigate your other books there, but you can scroll down here to the gospel. So we're going to scroll down to our gospel here. But you'll notice as I'm scrolling, you can see all of those different sections. So here's our gospel. Maybe the gospel is what we're going to focus on in our preparation. So we have all of our readings here available in this resource here on the left. Right behind this resource, in fact, one other thing I wanted to show you, excuse me, before I move on, the version of the Bible that you have available for you in your Catholic daily readings is going to be dependent on whichever Bible translation you've prioritized for Verbum for yourself. So for me, I use the ESV/CE quite frequently, so that's my top Bible, but yours may be different than mine. You'll notice right here that it's going to show up whichever version you've prioritized, and we'll talk about prioritization here in a moment as well. But you can change that up, for example, if you want to, just by clicking this down arrow and selecting a different version, you can just search. So for example, if you want to use the NABRE, which is what the lectionary uses, you can go ahead and select that, etc. Whatever version you prefer, just depending on your own preferences, you can change that up if you'd like to. So moving on, right behind that, we have our Roman Missal. So you'll notice the tab behind our Catholic daily readings here is our Roman Missal. And the Roman Missal is going to show you the different liturgical prayers that accompany this particular Mass. So especially for those of you who are preparing for the liturgy, this is really helpful to have that up with your readings. So you will have this available right behind to be able to navigate here when you'd like to. So on the right-hand side, we have, excuse me, in this middle column here, we have our top 5 Bible translations. So this is going to open to whichever Bible translations you have prioritized. So your top 5. If you have not prioritized your Bible translations, you can absolutely do so, and we'll walk through that next. But this will allow you to compare different translations as you are studying the Mass readings. Oftentimes it can be helpful to look at different translations. And these are also all linked together. So they're all navigating together. So you'll notice as I clicked on Mark, it navigated from Jonah, which was the first reading, to Mark here. And each one of these is linked. And we know that because of the A at the top. This is the link set A. So they'll all navigate together. So if I click on this translation here, the Douay-Rheims translation, I can see here it's navigated to Mark as well, etc. So I can click through these different translations to see. Now, if you've never prioritized your Bible translations, let's walk through that briefly, because you may open yours up and you're seeing your top 5 here, and you're thinking to yourself, I didn't select these. Well, this is likely because maybe you didn't prioritize your Bibles, and so it's just going to open to the default top 5. But let me show you briefly how to make sure that you do prioritize those so you're getting the Bible translations that you hope to have. So to do that, you're just going to go to your library here on the left-hand side. Again, I'm on the left-hand side here. I'm opening up my library. And I am going to navigate over here. Currently, I have my prioritized books open, but yours, when you open this, you may not have that open. You may have to click the panel menu to click prioritized books. Closing it for a moment so I can show you. Click the panel menu and select prioritized books. So you can see here the Bible versions as well as the commentaries that I have prioritized. We'll come back to commentaries here in a little bit. But you can add Bibles here to your prioritized books by dragging and dropping or by selecting the Bible. So if you search for whatever Bible you like to have, so for example, let's go ahead and remove the NABRE for a moment and we'll add it back. So I can just start to search in here. And now here I have the NABRE. I can either drag and drop it right over here, or I can right click on it and select prioritize this book. So this will prioritize them for me. Now the order that you put them in, top to bottom, will be the prioritization order. So here's my first, second, third, and fourth prioritized Bibles. So you can prioritize them out however you'd like to, and this will determine which Bibles show up for you in our lectionary layout. So let's go back. So that's how these are chosen and selected for me. So this is why we have those 5 Bibles open. I can navigate between them and click between them to compare translations as I wish to. So this is what this top section offers for us. Now let's look at the bottom section of this particular column here. We have 3 different tabs. Let's talk about each of them. First, on the left-hand side here, we have our top commentary. And as I mentioned, these work similarly to our Bibles, depending on which commentary you have prioritized, will also be available to you. The very top, your top one will be the one that's linked there first. If you're interested in, if you've never prioritized your commentaries, it's just going to be whatever default one is there. But just like we did for our Bibles, if we go to our library here, we can even sort by commentary. On the left-hand side here, you can sort all of your resources by commentaries, and you'll see all of your commentaries available. Now, usually, I just want to give you one tip here if you're doing this in the future. Close this for a moment so you can see. A great way to see all of your commentaries by series is to open up that commentaries and just click the series button, and then you can see them all by series instead of the individual books within a commentary. I love that you can see the individual books because you can, maybe there's one commentary that you really like on Mark, but you don't like the other sections in that commentary. You can prioritize the individual books within a series as well. But if you want to prioritize a full series, you can do that also. If you're curious more about that at the end, feel free to drop in the Q&A. We can walk through that a little bit more. But again, whichever one you've prioritized will be available below. Now, if you want to explore other commentaries, because again, it's only going to open your top commentary, you can do that in 2 ways. I'm going to show you the first way now. This is the way that I most commonly use, and this is the parallel book sets button. So you'll notice these 2 parallel lines at the top of my commentary here. I can click this, and you'll notice that all of my commentaries that I have on Mark are available here. And they will be listed in my prioritized order. I've only prioritized about 5. I really like the ACCS quite a bit, the Anchor Yale Bible, the Sacra Pagina. These are great commentaries. They're prioritized in order here for me, and I can click in opening one of them. So I want to navigate to the ACCS, for example, I can click this and it will open up for me. So I can navigate between them really easily by just clicking that parallel book sets button. This is how I generally, when I'm using this layout, navigate between different versions, or excuse me, different commentaries. Behind my commentary, this next tab is the Lives of the Saints, or Lives of Fathers, Martyrs, and Principal Saints. You can find here. And so Sunday, of course, is St. Agnes's feast day. So it will give me information on this if I'd like to explore the saint of the day. And then behind that, we have our fact book. The fact book specifically for this layout is going to be navigated to the day of the year. And it will have different information if you're interested. For example, any devotionals that you have within your library will be available for you to click on. Other resources on the lives of the saints that may have today's information are also going to be available in that day of the year in the fact book. So this is what we have in our middle column here. And let's look to the far right. Let's take a look at the next two tools here on the far right. We have our Cited By tool at the top and our Explorer tool right below that. So let's talk about the Cited By tool first. The Cited By tool is very helpful. It's one that I didn't utilize much at first, but I have begun to utilize it quite a bit more of late, because what this does is it's going to look through all of your resources to show where a particular verse is cited. So today, of course, we're looking at Mark 1:14 through 20, so our gospel. So it's going to look through here all of these different resources to see where that is cited. Now, if you open up your Cited By tool and it looks like this, I'm going to expand this for a minute. It looks like this. It looks really busy. Just know that you can always, and this is what my preference is, if you right click on any one of these tabs and hit collapse all, it will collapse them all for you here. So now I can go ahead and click on any one of these to expand it. So maybe I want to see where in the Catechism of the Catholic Church this particular verse is cited. I can expand this and it's going to open that up for me. So now I can explore all of these. I'm not having to search my catechism separately. It's available right here for me utilizing the Cited By tool. So you can see it's going to list all of those options where this is cited. I can always hit more as well if I'm looking for additional. It'll have the top 5 or so listed. We have our church document section. So any of the encyclicals that maybe this particular verse was cited in will be listed here if I want to explore those further. So maybe I'm preparing for a homily. Obviously not me in particular, but if you're a priest or a deacon, perhaps you're preparing for a homily and you want to explore any of these church documents, there can be some context here as well that might be helpful to dig further into. If you're in ministry and you are exploring a specific reading for Bible study or teaching that you're doing, this can be also really helpful for you. We have the church fathers as well, so we can expand this and see where the church fathers spoke about these particular references, and you can see as you scroll through and click through those resources here in this section. And then below that, our Catholic Topical Index. So you can see here different topics that have referenced this. So for example, following Christ, etc. You can expand this and open it up even further. The Catholic Topical Index is an amazing tool within the software that we won't be able to explore more today. But if you're interested in knowing more about it, drop in the survey for me and let me know, because it's a webinar I'd like to offer down the road, and I'd love to know if that would be of interest to you. So this is what the Cited By tool offers. It's a great tool to be able to access other resources outside of just your scripture references and your commentaries to see what else you might be able to explore to help enhance your reading of scripture. Below that, we have our Explorer tool. The Explorer tool is, it's going to be a library. It's going to search your library or explore your library to find biblical events, people, places, things, etc. That might be helpful. So again, if you open it up and it looks like this, and these are all expanded, you can always collapse all those sections by right-clicking on any section and selecting Collapse All. I like to have it like this so I can see the different sections and I can click on and explore, for example, biblical places. If I want to look more into Galilee, which is mentioned in this specific reading, I can do that. So that's what that Explorer tool offers for you. And at the very bottom of your Explorer tool, you'll notice that we have our cross references, which is really helpful, as well as our other commentaries. So if you're not a fan of using the parallel book sets button that I used to navigate to my different commentaries, you can also expand this and you'll be able to see all the commentaries that speak to this particular reading. So you can click them, open them. It'll open a second version right here, and it will open it up next to your other commentary. So just know that that is available to you as well if that's your preferred way to open additional commentaries. So this is what this particular layout offers for you. So you can see that it's going to offer a pretty in-depth study. Not only do you have the readings and the Roman Missal and different translations of the Bible, but it opens up a lot of doors for you to explore and go deeper into either church documents, the catechism, church fathers, etc., that might be helpful aside from just your commentary. So as I was going over this today, you may be thinking to yourself, well, there's certain things I know I would use. Maybe there's other tools you would not use. Just know that you can make changes to this layout. And that's what I want to walk through with you a little bit next. So we'll be talking about some changes that you can make, and specific to your use. You're going to find some changes that you like, others maybe not so much. So let's walk through what some of those are. So first of all, if you're like me, I really like to have a little bit more room here for my Bible. I don't like that it's such a small window. And so I like to rearrange my setup here just a little bit. And so I'm going to walk you through what I do to rearrange it, but know that you can change this up however you prefer. So what I like to do is I like to have this column be longer. So I want to move this section. And to move a whole section, all you need to do is hold down the Shift button and click on one of the sections. And you'll notice as I move this around, as I move this around, it will take that whole thing with me. Now, notice the gray. I'm going to move this around a little bit so you can see the gray. If I moved it here, it would be right at adding tabs to this section, which I don't want. I can move it up here, but wherever the gray is where when I let go and drop this, it will land. And I like to put it like this. I like to put it right in the middle here. So this is going to add another long section or column here, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it. You can see what this looks like. So this adds another column for me. So now I still have all of the tools that I had before, but I have an additional column here available to me, and I can dig into it a little bit better. It gives me a little more space here for my scripture. You'll notice that this will require me to use an arrow for this section here and this section here if I end up adding additional tabs, but that's okay with me, and I like to have this additional space. So this is one change that I like to make. You can also move your tools around. For example, maybe I want my cited by tool and Explorer tool right next to each other instead of up and down. So I can go ahead and go like that. And now I just can navigate to one or the other. Maybe you find yourself never using the Explorer tool, so you go ahead and close that. I actually don't use the Explorer tool as much as I would think because I like to use the cross references, but if you find yourself not using a tool, you can close that tool and just have it not even part of your layout here. Maybe there's only a couple translations you want to compare. You don't want all of these. You can close some of them, for example. I could close any one of them that I wanted to here. Make whatever changes you'd like to. Perhaps if you're doing homily prep or you're putting together a presentation for ministry, you're wanting to use your favorites tool to collect different notes, etc., you can open additional tools and add it to this layout. So let me walk you through what some of my recommendations there might be. So one would be, first of all, your notes tool, having that notes tool open. So let's go ahead and start there. I'm going to go ahead and go to my tools and open my notes tool. Now you can place this wherever you'd like to. I'm going to go ahead and just put it right here next to my daily Roman Missal and my Catholic daily readings. And you'll notice here that I can easily just quickly create a notebook as I'm starting this. And again, if you're unfamiliar with Notes tool and notebooks, etc., let me know. I have offered these in the past, webinars in the past, but if we have enough interest, I'd love to offer them again. So put in the survey today if you'd like to see these again. But you can create that notebook here. For example, maybe I'm doing a presentation on something, I title that. And if I have that notebook opened, any notes and highlights that I take on the text now will be automatically populated into that notebook. So I like to pop it back here because and open that up so that as I'm starting to take notes on the text that I'm going to use for a specific presentation, it will start to populate in there. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. The other tool I might open up if I'm doing a presentation or a homily of some kind is my favorites tool. This is also helpful for those of you who are in seminary, for example, or any other sort of schooling that you're doing. The favorites tool is an awesome tool. And again, I've offered a webinar on this in the past. If you're interested and you want to see it again, let me know. I would love to offer it. So I'm going to pop that over here by my cited by tool. And you can see here, this is the favorites tool is basically a folder system that allows you to pull all sorts of different articles or notes, etc., into one place and keep it really organized to revisit in the future. So this is something I like to have up as I'm going through if I was doing a presentation on the topic. If I was doing my own reflections or personal study, I may not have my favorites tool up, but for those of you who would like to go beyond just your own personal study of the mass readings, favorites tool might be a great tool for you to have open and create folders. So here's some of the changes I might make, right? You might make others, maybe you close other tabs. As you start to play around with this, you might find there's certain tools you use all the time, as I mentioned, or maybe other tools you'd like to add. But once you get to a point that you like your layout, you feel good about it. Now, this is looking quite a bit different from when I first opened this lectionary layout, as you would recall. I've made minimal changes, but I made them to my own preferences. You can save those changes so that next time I open this up, I don't have to remember to change my columns up, etc. So let me walk you through that change. So we're going to go to layouts here on the left-hand side. Now, our liturgy layout that we use today, or our lectionary layout that we use today was the Catholic Daily Readings, but it's called, if you go to your layouts, it's called lectionary right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go here to my lectionary. I'm going to click the little arrow that I find here on the right, and I'm going to select replace with current layout. Once I do that, you'll notice there's this little note next to it. It says custom, meaning that I have customized this layout to my own preferences. So now if I close this and I go to reopen it, notice that it opens to my preferred layout because I have saved it as such. So if you make any changes to that layout, it's going to save it for you. And so you can revisit it. Now, if you ever get to a point that you realize, you know what, I could have really benefited from some of the ways that it was originally laid out, and I don't even remember what that looked like, but I'd like to go back to the original and then make some changes. You can easily do that. Just go back to your layouts here on the left, go to lectionary again, and you can just say restore to default layout, just like that. And it will restore it for you. So now when I close this here, we'll just take a second and reopen it. It goes back to that restored original layout. So this is what I wanted to show you today. And I want to get to all of your questions because you may have specific questions based on your own use case. And as I mentioned at the beginning, today's webinar is fairly basic in the sense that we're talking about a layout that's here, it's available to you, but I wanted you to really have a good understanding of what each of these tools offers for you so that you can start to use them and navigate through them. And hopefully you feel today that you walk through this and you feel a little bit more equipped to use this in the future. I'm going to jump to all questions here in just a moment, and we'll cover those together. But before I do, I want to go through a few closing comments with you. Again, please put any questions that you have in the Q&A section, and I will get to those. Before I get to those questions, though, I want to offer a few comments. First of all, I want to let you know that you're going to receive an email with today's recording. And I will include a link to some other webinars. Next week, I'm going to be offering a webinar, and I'll share the link here in the chat in a moment, on additional customizations that you can do to layouts, but we'll be using a different layout. I'll be using one specific to studying scripture using the passage guide. And I'll be showing you lots of different customizations that you can do to further benefit your study, depending on what your goals are. So we'll walk through those next week. If you're interested, again, I'll share that in the chat here in just a moment so you can sign up for it ahead of time, but would love to have you for that. Some of those tips that I'll go over next week can even be applicable to today's webinar, because you may find changes that I make to that other layout that benefit you or that you would prefer this lectionary layout. So hopefully you can come to that one next week. And even if you can't come live, know that you can always register to receive a recording. So if you are in a different time zone and you're staying up late or got up really early to be here today, thank you for being here. But also know that when you sign up for these, if you can't make it live, we will send you a recording. So you'll receive that recording today, just a couple hours for today's webinar. You can review that. You can pause, have your software open, play around, and practice with that recording. So for anybody that, we moved too quickly today through different portions, that's why we send that recording out, since we do move at a pace that allows you to get a good snapshot, but then come back and follow along with your software. Please do take the survey today. If you have to leave before we get through all the Q&A, it's there at the top of the chat box. Just click it. It'll open a separate tab for you. You can click through those answers. I'd love to hear from you today, how today's webinar served you. I'd love to know other topics you'd like to see in the future. So please do let me know in that survey. Finally, I always share this number at the end of webinars. It's the 888-918-0768. Feel free to save it if you'd like to. This is just for you to reach out to our library specialists. Always tell them you came to my webinar today. If you're looking to add anything to your library, if you're looking to upgrade your software, they will offer you a discount on an upgrade just for coming today. So make sure you tell them you came. But if it's a specific resource you want to add, for example, maybe today you were realizing I would love to have a specific commentary. For example, maybe the Ancient Christian Commentary, the ACCS, which is an excellent one. Maybe you don't have that one in your library. You're interested in adding that at some point. Some of our commentaries are very expensive, and there are creative ways to add them by upgrading or changing your library a little bit that you can actually get at a lower price point. And our library specialists know all the tips and tricks to do that. So always call them first, because they can help you to get things at a lower price point. So I always share that just in case you're in that boat where you'd like to add something. And we have lots of commentaries actually this month on sale. So feel free to give them a call. Let me take a look and see. I'm going to navigate over to our questions now and get through all the questions that you have together live. So I'm jumping over to the Q&A. And I saw some questions come through the chat specifically, so I'll come back to the chat later, but I always go through the Q&A first. It's a little easier for me to see, and I know I don't miss things when they hit the Q&A. So I'm going to jump over there. All right. Okay. Tom says, I should check my library, but is the Catechism of the Catholic Church available in Verbum? Connecting the CCC with a lectionary would be a great addition. So most packages will have the catechism. So it just depends, Tom, on what you have. If you are curious, if you can't find it, you can always call the library specialist too. They can tell you how to add it. But the Catechism of the Catholic Church is going to be in likely most of the Verbum packages. If you have our free version, I don't believe it's in the free version. But if you'd like to add it, I don't think it's a huge price point to add, but call the number that I shared there at the bottom of the screen. They can look at your library. They can tell you, yeah, actually, you do have it if you're not finding it. But yeah, search your library for it. You should be able to find it. But it's great to be able to use it in that cited by tool. It searches it for you. So I love that about that tool. Okay. Okay, Tom also asks, Pope Francis just announced that homilies should be 7 to 8 minutes. Yet people complain that homilies are not relevant to their lives, stressing that people should read the readings beforehand. Yeah, so what I would say to that, Tom, I think it looks like it's an observation. Yeah, so Just so you know, if Verbum has a free app. So if anyone's interested in using Verbum, the free version of it, of course, it's only a few resources in there, but it is free. People can use that app to read the upcoming readings. It's a great thing to promote. And there's also a fundamentals package, which is a smaller package in Verbum. That's a great starting point for people. If anyone's interested in that, if you have people that you encounter who are interested, you can promote Verbum, let them know. You can feel free to share the number that they can call to chat. Also, feel free to share these webinars with others. We'd love to have, if you know others who are using the software who'd like to come and learn about it or just see what it's like, you can feel free to share the recording with them as well. These are available to view. So we'd love to have people check that out. Okay, Sharon says, what is Verbum? Is it the same as Logos? So Verbum is the Catholic version of Logos. So Logos is a Bible software for those of you who are using Verbum, who are not familiar. Logos is a Bible software as well. And the two of them are very similar. The main differences are in terminology. So in Logos, we'll see terms like sermon builder versus in Verbum, we'll see terms like homily builder. So similar tools, they're very much similar, but there are some things that are unique to each. Also, the resources are going to be quite a bit different. So Verbum will have specifically Catholic resources, whereas Logos will have all sorts of different denominational resources to them. Okay, next question. Okay, Kurt, yes. Kurt asked about recording. Yep, the recording will be sent to you by email. So just check your email in a few hours today. If you don't see it, check your spam. Sometimes it gets, depending on your filters, you may find it in your spam folder. And before we leave today, I will also share with you here in a moment my email address. So if you don't see it, you can always shoot me an email. Tom says, should the default Bible be the NAVRE since that's the lectionary, what the lectionary uses? Great question, Tom. So it's just going to depend on your preferences. Some people, if you're going to the extraordinary form of the Mass, etc., they're going to use a different translation. So that's why we have the option to change it up depending on your own preferences. But if you'd like it to match the lectionary, just prioritize the NAVRE as your top prioritized Bible, and you'll be able to see that pop up as automatically for you. Okay, Kevin, this is a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Kevin asked, how do I prioritize entire sets of commentaries? Let me grab that for you. Before I do, though, for anybody who has to leave, I'm just going to grab for you the link to next week's webinar if you'd like to come. So next week's webinar, as I mentioned, is going to talk about optimizing your layouts for customization. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. So if you'd like to come, I'll drop that in the chat as well as my email. So if you have to take off, that you have that info. So here, I'm going to go ahead and drop that there in the chat. And then my email here is just my first dot last name. So carly.harkins@logos.com. Then we're going to get to that question, that great question that you asked there. Okay. So the question was, how do I prioritize entire sets of commentary? So let me show you this. So let's go to our library here on the left-hand side. Here we're in the commentary section. So if you see a specific, for example, here is one, this is a specific book within a commentary. You just need to right click on the resource, and you'll notice you can prioritize this book or prioritize the series. You're going to want to select prioritize the series, and it will prioritize the entire series instead of just one volume of that series. So that's how you do that. Also, as I mentioned, if you open your library and you don't see this view, click on this section here at the top right. You can see cover view. Maybe when you open it, you see this. Maybe when you open it, you see the title view. I think this is the default. Click on the details view, and you can navigate instead of by looking at it by title, by looking at it by series. And then you'll be able to also just expand any one of these. When you do, you can right click on it and select prioritize the series. So you can see all of it together there if you want to see it by series. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any further questions about that, Kevin. Okay, Joel says, I don't have certain sections such as the Explorer section. How do I add it? Great question, Joel. So if there's tools that you saw today that you'd like to add and you're not seeing them, it may be because you have an older version of the software or because you have not purchased certain sections. If you want to know more about, if there was something you saw today that you think could add value, go ahead and call the number there on the screen, the 888-918-0768. Our library specialist can tell you, if you say, I want the Explorer tool, they can say, okay, that's going to be available in this package or how you can add it. They'll give you all of your options. And again, when you call, make sure you tell them you came to the webinar, so they will they'll offer you a discount on upgrading for coming. There's no requirement to purchase. If you call them, they're just there to help, and you can decide whether or not you want to move ahead with it. But the Explorer tool is available in our lower packages, I believe. So I don't think that will be a huge price point. So call them and see how that looks. Okay, Frank says, can you change the number of your preferred Bibles or commentaries that you are first opened when you open the layout? Yes. So for that, Frank, what I would recommend, for example, if you want to have less options available to you or more options, open up the additional options that you'd like to be available if you want more, or close options. For example, maybe I only want 4, and then go to layouts, lectionary, and just replace with current layout. This will then save it for the future so that you're only opening up with 4 options or 2 options or however many you'd like. So that's how you would do that. Okay. Kevin asks, how do I add resources to my favorites? So Kevin, the way that you add resources to your favorites is just by dragging and dropping. And again, if there's enough interest, I'd love to offer that one again. It's one of my favorite webinars to offer. It looks like there might be. So complete the survey and let me know. I'll be looking at the comments in that survey. If there's a lot of people who want me to repeat that webinar on favorites, I will. But just in brief, I'm going to open up my favorites tool here. You can create new folders by clicking add, and then you can just drag and drop whatever you'd like to within those folders. So it's very easy to use. I will also grab you here in the meantime because obviously we won't be offering that webinar immediately. Let me grab you a link really quickly that might be helpful in the meantime. Give me 1 minute to grab this. Yes, the favorites tool is truly very aptly named, in my opinion, because it's one of my favorite tools in the software. It allows you to do so much organization. So I'm dropping here in the chat just the support page on the favorites tool. And if you have other questions in the meantime, you can always shoot me an email as well. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Tom asked, looking for the survey. Where is the tab for it? It's at the very top of the chat box. It'll say take survey here. Look for that, Tom. Let me know if you don't see it. Okay. Greg asks, does Verbum have an extraordinary form of the Catholic lectionary? This is a great question, Greg, and I think so, but I'm actually, in this moment, not remembering. It's not one that I use with regularity. Thanks for asking that question. Would you shoot me an email? And anybody who's interested in that, shoot me an email, and I will look into that. It'll just prompt me to remember to make sure I look into that. Carly.harkins@logos.com. I will be sure to look into that for you and see. I believe they do, but I just want to make sure that it links through. And if they don't have it yet, I want to also look into for you if it's something they are looking to add in the future, just so that I have a succinct answer for you on that. So shoot me an email. Okay. Okay. Roman asks, do the daily readings work the same on the Android tablet? So they do not. Some of the, I'm going to show you here. Let me see if I can grab this link for you. I'm grabbing a platform comparison link, and I'm going to grab it from the Logos because I don't believe we have the updated one on the Verbum website yet that I have seen. So just so you know, this platform comparison page, it's going to link to the Logos page, but just know that Logos and Verbum are very similar in terms of their uses. So you can see what's available on each device. And layouts is what the Catholic Daily Readings is. So layouts are only partially available on the app and the web app and not in the same way. So if you want to use it in this way that we're looking at today with all of the uses, you're going to want to use the desktop version. But I will drop in the chat here for you this link in case you're interested in checking out that platform comparison page. I find it really helpful. Okay, next question. All right, let's see here. Nick asks, my cited by does not have the catechism, church documents, church fathers, Catholic topical index, and I can't see how to add those. How do I add them? Okay, great question, Nick. So here at the top, here's your cited by tool. There's an add button at the top here. Just click this and it should be in the options. Since I have them, you're not going to see them there, but you can also remove. So let's try removing one, for example. Let me go like this. So for example, I just removed those two. Now, if I click this, I can scroll down. So for example, I want the Catholic topical index. Let's see here. Is that the one I removed? Yes, sorry. Just search for it when it pops up here and you'll be able to add it back. Oops. Not spelling it correctly. That's my problem. My goodness. But when you search for it again, you should be able to find it. Right now, it's not popping up for me. So let me look into that for you. Am I just missing it? I don't know why I'm missing it right now. I know there's a way that you can do it because clearly I had them added. So shoot me an email. We'll follow up on that, Nick. But you should be able to quickly add it in that way. And so I want to figure out how I did that before. So let's chat further offline so I don't take the time here. I know you can. Right now I'm just not seeing it immediately, but there is a way to do it. So let's take that offline. If anyone else is interested in that too, shoot me an email. We'll walk through it. If you're not seeing it on yours, shoot me an email. We'll walk through that together. Okay. Nick also asks, what's the resource that you have that's abbreviated LF MOPS? So this is the lives of the saints. So it's the lives of the fathers, martyrs, and other principles of the saints. So as I hover over that, you'll see that there. It's one of our devotionals. Okay. Jason asks, can you prioritize the NABRE for the Catholic Daily Readings, but have a different translation prioritized for everything else? Good question, Jason. You know what? Here's what I'm going to check. Actually, I don't know that you can, but what I want to check here to see is if, let's change this here at the top to the NABRE. If I change it to the NABRE here, and let's go ahead and save this layout and see how this works. So for my lectionary, I'm going to go ahead and click replace with current layout. So it's custom. So now when I close this, let's see what it opens up to. NABRE. Yep. So you cannot prioritize it for a specific layout, but if you, maybe that's the only change you want to make to the layout, but you always want it to open up to the NABRE, go ahead and just make the change and then go to layouts here and go to lectionary, replace with current layout. It'll save it that custom way for you. Okay. Terry asks what version of the software that I'm using. This is my demo account, so I am using the latest version of Verbum 10. Joel says, okay, I'll need to learn more. I have Verbum 10 portfolio. I would think I would have that. Yeah, Joel, so if you're not finding you should absolutely have the catechism. If you're not finding the catechism, or maybe like Nick, you weren't seeing it available in your cited by tool, for example, as I mentioned, let's explore that a little bit. I know that you can add these here, and for some reason, my brain is escaping me on how you can. So let's do that offline. Shoot me an email and I'll help you work through that. So you won't need to call that number that I shared. You have what you need, I'm sure. So feel free to just shoot me an email. We'll walk through it together and make sure that you can access it. So just let me know. Marilda, Carly, if I have 2 portfolios, do I need Verbum or will the free version be enough? Marilda, free version will be enough for you. Absolutely. So Verbum is going to be really similar to Logos. It's just different terminology. If you open Verbum, you can download the Verbum app and just sign in just like you would into Logos, and you'll see the other platforms. So they're usable across all platforms. What Verbum will have is it's going to have different Catholic resources. So if you're interested in having additional Catholic resources, like different commentaries, etc., that are specifically Catholic, Verbum, purchasing a Verbum package or library is a great way to get those at a lower price point than just buying an individual commentary. So if there's questions that you have about adding those resources, let me know. But if it's simply a platform situation where you want to be able to see it in the platform, like for example, today I'm using the Verbum platform, then you won't need to purchase additional resources. You can just download that platform and use it. Okay. Okay, Tom says the color of the take survey here is very light in the current offer box. Okay, thank you for telling me. It sounds like it's a little hard to see that survey, so thanks for telling me that. That's really helpful to know. I will see what we can do to change that in the future, but yes, that is where you'll take that survey. Okay, yes, and Nick, great. Thank you for that follow-up. Shoot me an email. We'll figure this out together. Okay, Nell says, how do I find the basics for how to use Verbum? I had trouble understanding you at times because you spoke too quickly. I'm so sorry. Nell, thank you for telling me that. I'm underusing many of these tools. Okay, so some of the webinars that I have offered in the past are available on our YouTube page. I'm going to grab that for you. And just know that you can pause when you have, part of the reason why I move through quickly is because we have people who are using all different levels of the software. We have some people who are brand new. They've never opened Verbum before. And we have others who've used the software for years. So I'm trying to provide tools and move at a pace that's helpful for a wide audience, right? So for those of you who I moved too quickly, I do apologize. And I thank you for your patience in that. But I'm going to grab you the link to some of the other webinars that we've offered in the past that are available on YouTube. You can rewatch these and you can pause and replay and practice with your software open. So let me grab this for you here, just really quickly. Give me one moment. Okay, just grabbing this link. So if you go into YouTube and you just search for Verbum Catholic software, you can find it here. You'll also find the Organize Your Research webinar on here. So the one I talked about favorites, if you want to just watch it on YouTube, you can absolutely do that. I may still offer it live in the future, but I'm going to drop this in the chat for you. Oops. One moment. All right, there you go. So take a look at that. And again, thanks for your patience with that. All right, jumping over to the chat again. I got through the Q&A, so I'm going to jump back to the chat to see. I saw some questions come through there, maybe some repeats, but we'll get through that together. And if you have to take off, feel free to. I know some of you may have to leave, so feel free to leave. Be sure to take the survey before you go. Okay, I'm scrolling back through the chat here. All right. And now you're not the first one to talk. I know I talk fast, so sometimes I do talk fast just because I talk fast. So I always appreciate when people tell me that, and I will certainly, I certainly do work on slowing it down. So thank you for that feedback. Okay. Okay, so yeah, somebody mentioned that having the CCC depends on where you live. So depending on, there are certain things that are not allowed, like for some reason, just copyright reasons, some things will not be available in different countries. So feel free if you want me to walk through and look into that for you, I'm always happy to. So just shoot me an email. We can work through that. So thanks for that feedback though, Daniel. Appreciate that. So take a look at that. Daniel's comment there. Maybe it applies to you, but if not, and I can help, let me know. Okay. Okay. One question came through. I have a Mac and the HD is quite full. Is it possible to install Verbum on an external HD? This is a great question. Not one that I'm not savvy on the tech side of those things. I would not be able to help you with that. However, I'm going to share with you a phone number that you can call to reach out to our team who can help you with that. So let me grab you the contact. Our customer support team is awesome, and they will be able to help you. I'm going to just share in the link here our contact page. You'll be able to see then and determine whether you need the US and Canada toll-free number or international number. Just know that you're going to want to look for the customer service team to help you with that question. So I'm dropping that there in the chat for you. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Scrolling through to see if I missed any questions. Okay, Trevor asks the difference between Verbum Now and Verbum. So Verbum Now is our subscription model, which I believe is still available. I used to be on the sales side of things. I'm not anymore. So I'm not in the know on what's available in terms of Verbum, the packages versus our subscription. But what Verbum Now does, I believe it's still available. It allows you to have access to all the latest software updates. So anything that's new, any new tools on a subscription model. So versus paying for it, so you own it, you pay a smaller amount, but it's an annual fee to have the latest updates. So I believe that's still available, but I'm not totally sure. And I apologize for that. But let me take a look and see. Yeah, it is. So I'll put it in the link if anyone's interested. So what Verbum Now allows you to do, you pay $199.99 a year, and you can subscribe to get the newest features. So it's no additional books, just the newest features. And so if you don't have Verbum 10 yet and upgrading is too high of a price point, you can add Verbum Now to get the latest features if you're interested. So that's what that offers for you. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. Okay. I think I answered your question, Daniel, about how do you check to see if you have all the tools. So if you open up that layout that I showed you, the lectionary layout, and you're seeing something grayed out or does not appear, it means you don't have it. So call the number there at the bottom of the screen if you'd like to add something, and they can walk you through those. Okay. Okay, and Nick, you had mentioned, I see in the comments now that you have Logos, not Verbum. Could that be it? It could be, depending on the resources. So, for example, the Catechism is going to be in a Verbum resource, not a Catholic, or not the Logos resource necessarily, unless you added it specifically. But the Catholic Topical Index, for instance, I don't think it's available in Logos, but it might be. But feel free to look around, and if you if you have any trouble searching for it, or again, you can follow up with me by email. Okay, Robert, this is a good question. It's off topic, but whenever I click a word in the Bible, the fact book opens. Is there a setting for this? Yes. So on your Bible, I'm just going to close this and just open the Bible so we have a little bit less in front of us. So here we have our Bible open. There is this button at the top of your Bible that has a little book with a check mark. This is your fact book. Right now, you'll notice that if I click on a word here, nothing opens because I don't have my fact book filter on. But you can turn it on by clicking that button. And then you'll notice that there are a bunch of words with blue lines under it that are linked to fact book articles. So it's up to you if you want to be able to use this or not. I tend to not like to have it on because I'll, especially if I'm demoing in the Verbum setting. I do webinars on the Logos side and the Verbum side. However, I am Catholic, so I use Verbum personally. And in my personal use of it, I don't usually use the fact book when I'm using Verbum because oftentimes it's a lot of it, it's a distraction for me when I click and open it. And I use other tools more often in Verbum. But if you want to have it on, you absolutely can, or you can turn it off just by clicking that button, and then you won't have that available. So that is how you turn that on and off. All right. Okay. Somebody asked, how do you add a resource like Catholic Topical Index to your layout? So if you want to add a specific resource to a different layout, you're just going to want to go to your tools and type in whatever you're looking for. So for example, Catholic Topical Index. And actually it's not in tools, it's in guides. My apologies. There we go. It's in guides and workflows for the Catholic Topical Index specifically. So you'll notice for the Catholic Topical Index, there's really two sections. There's, if you're looking for Bible references, if you can search by Bible references, or you can search by topic. So you just go ahead and click and open it up. This would be the topical index for the Catholic Topical Index. So searching by a topic versus a Bible reference. And then you'd save and update. Next week, I'll be going through a lot more in terms of adding to layouts and saving your own customized layout. So we'll talk about that some more. But in brief, that's how you would do that. All right, scrolling back up through here. Okay, Jeff asked about using webinars, how to use the tools to draft and write homilies. Put that in the survey for me, Jeff. That would be so helpful. I'd love to know topics that you'd like to see. Put it in the survey because that's where I will come back and I will remember to make sure that I'm working towards webinar topics that you'd like to see. Okay. Marissa says passage guide would be very useful. Yes, I love the passage guide. We'll talk about it next week. So come next week. Love to talk to you about it then. Okay. Just to reiterate, you're absolutely getting a recording of today's webinar. So somebody else asked about being able to go over this at a slower pace and pause. Yes, with that recording, that's absolutely what you can do and why we offer that. So I'm glad so many of you are interested in that. Just watch for your email a little bit later today. All right. Okay, I think I've gotten through all the questions. If there's something that I missed today, either I didn't see it, please just shoot me an email. I will be more than happy to follow up with you by email. Just send me an email. We can go over that together. Again, my email is just my first last name. So carly.harkins@logos.com. So if I can be helpful to you, I would love to do that. I'm going to go ahead and pop up the survey for you. If you haven't taken it yet, if you would, I'd be so grateful. If you just click the link when I pop it up, it'll open it up for you. And just let me know how today served you. If this webinar is something that you would share with somebody else who uses Verbum, if you think it could be useful to other users, let me know and rate it accordingly. Even if you don't have friends who you would recommend it to because you don't have no other Verbum users, just recommend it and rate it based on if you think it would be helpful to a Verbum user in general. Let me know. Really helpful, really grateful to have each one of you here. I'm so thankful to have such a large crowd. It's always a blessing to see you. I'm going to go ahead and conclude now, but you know how to reach me by email if I can serve you in any way. Feel free to reach out to me. I know there are a few things that we talked about following up with today. We'll absolutely follow up with those by email. But if there's other things that pop up down the road as we start to play around with this lectionary layout, always reach out to me by email. And I hope to see you at next week's webinar. You can always shoot me an email in the meantime. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. And stay warm out there if you are one of those in a snowstorm. I hope that you stay safe and warm. And God bless you all. I'll talk to you some other time soon.